Hey guys, this is Rashid Sayyed from GamingBull.com here to review Bulletstorm. The first-person shooter genre is an overly saturated market with the likes of Call of Duty, Medal of Honor and Killzone getting released every year or two. But it is also safe to say that it is the only category that can act like a money-minding machine for developers and publishers. So how does a new IP like Bulletstorm fit into the picture? If Bulletstorm would have been just another game with more focus on World War campaigns, then it would have lost its significance. Instead, the talented bunch at People Can Fly went ahead and made something which is genuinely fun and unique while revolutionizing the first-person shooter genre forever. Perhaps one of the worst part of the game needs to be talked about first, which is the awful story. I don't know why, but every game which has overly muscular tank-like people have a nonsense story, and Bulletstorm is no exception. You take on the role of Grayson Hunt, who is the leader of a secret Black Ops army called as Dead Echo, and you have been tricked into murdering innocent people and journalists instead of the bad guys by an also-irritating Commando Serrano. Obviously, when our hero Grayson gets to know all of this, he has no option but to retaliate. But in the process, he leads his team into doom, with each and every one of them getting killed, except for Ishii, who is now half robot and half human. So the game is all about Grayson and Ishii searching for Serrano in the wild planet of Stygia. Bulletstorm had a lot of hype going for its insane weapons and the unique ways you can kill the mutant tribe of Stygia. I'm very pleased to report that weapons are a ton of fun and the way you can utilize them to take down your enemies is breathtaking. The developers have implemented a primary and a secondary attack for every weapon that you will pick up in the game. You start off with a Peacemaker, which is nothing but your standard assault rifle, but what makes this gun unique is its devastating secondary attack, which will burn your enemy's skin down, leaving out their bones in the process. The primary attack is a blast tube provided you go full throttle, which will dismember the mutants into pieces. The flail gun was one of my personal favorites in the game. It basically lodges a chain of explosives around your enemy, which then can be used to trigger remotely. The secondary attack will fire the explosive directly without a need for a trigger, which can be used to take out a group of enemies. You also have the bouncer cannon, which will fire a large bouncing cannonball, which is ideal in conditions where you are being charged by an enemy. Grayson can also use the turret gun, which is a blast for dismembering chunk of enemies together. I know this is brutal, but at the same time it is immensely satisfying. There are also sniper rifles in the game, but the way they have been implemented is different. Whenever Grayson fires one, the camera will zoom in and then you have to direct the bullet using your analog sticks. Now this might not necessarily be a huge change in the way people handle snipers, but still it is a nice touch. The weapons list finishes out with an unsatisfactory shotgun and a pistol that can be used to launch explosives. One of the things that you will find yourself constantly using is a leash. It is nothing but a glowing blue grapple which you can use to pull enemies towards you. The combination of leash and weapons can give you some exciting ways to kill your enemy. For example, if you use leash to grapple your enemy towards you and kick them and then use the Peacemaker at the same time, you will get skill points and a corresponding skill name, which in this case is the Bullet Kick. You can also use the environments to take down a bunch of criminals by blowing gas tankers or leashing the enemies to spikes, cacti, or kicking and sliding them into electric poles. All of this results into more skill points, which you can then use this at a drop kit to unlock some cool upgrades to your weapons, charge shots, and upgrade your leash so that you can thump out enemies. You can also earn skill points by pressing button prompts in the game or while making your way across a gap. It is obvious to say that the more skillful you are in taking down your enemies, the more points you will earn, which will result in better weapons and more fun. There are tons of enemies in the game and they manage the theme of the game pretty well. As I mentioned earlier, that the game takes place in Stygia, which was a former resort, and the developers have done a great job of making the enemies not only challenging but colorful at the same time. Initially you will fight against a bunch of mad heads called as skulls and creeps who will charge towards you, hence leaving them open to a leash attack or a kick. You will also face the agile creeps who will fire explosives at you and will avoid your leash attacks. The only way to take them out is to get up close and personal. However, the one breed that stands out from the rest of the goons are the burnouts. These guys are much stronger, take a lot of bullets and generally come in groups of 10 to 12. There are also bigger species of burnouts in the game, though there were only a couple of occasions where they will meet you. You can also use enemies to your advantage. For example, in one of the sections, an enemy was using a Mechaton, which is a user controller dinosaur mech. Later on, you will get a chance to control this robot, which results into some fun-filled sections which will leave you wanting for more. As is the trend these days, boss fights are becoming a rarity. There is only one boss fight which pits you against a Hackathon, which resembles the Rift Worm seen in Gears of War 2. Although this battle was short, it was exciting nonetheless. Level design is a core aspect of any video game and Bulletstorm does not disappoint. You will come across many situations where you have to use the objects in the level to make it through. Many times in the game, I found myself without any ammunition, which meant that I had to use the environments to get through. The world is infested with traps, man-eating plants, and electric poles, giving the player enough opportunities to get through the short and challenging single-player campaign. Games built on Unreal Engine look beautiful, and Bulletstorm is a sight to behold. Used structures, excellent representation of a world in chaos, vibrant colors, and some great character models make Bulletstorm an attractive game. Many times I found myself stopping for a bit, taking a break from the action, and just glaring at the beautiful world of Stygia. First-person shooter games are not known for their voice acting, but Bulletstorm is a surprise. Grayson Hunt is voiced by Steve Blum, who has worked in big games like Bioshock 2 and Call of Duty Black Ops, and is obviously the best of the lot. All other side characters like Ishii and Trishka are solidly voiced too. Having said that, the game could have done better without the overuse of nonsense dialogues, which for some reason did not make sense to me at all. After you're done with the single player campaign of the game, there is the Echo mode where you can play the single player chapters again. Though this might not appeal to every player, but it is a nice way to beat your best time and earn some skill points. Also, one point to be noted here is the omission of a co-op campaign mode, since throughout the game you are always accompanied by either Ishii or Trishka. I think this is a lost opportunity for the developers, since the platform was there to include a solid co-op campaign mode. There is also a mode called as Anarchy, which is like a combination of competitive as well as cooperative mode. Here you and your buddies can team up to take down hordes and hordes of enemy. The aim here is to collect as many skill points as possible and also beat the combined points threshold set by the game. The Anarchy mode is pretty enjoyable, but the gunplay may get repetitive after some time. I have no doubts in my mind that People Can Fly have developed a great game. They have tried to do something different and unique, and yet have successfully implemented it, a combination which is a rarity these days. If you had enough of the good guys catching the bad guys type of games, then I would suggest pick up a copy of Bulletstorm now. This is Rajesh Sayyed signing off and wishing you happy gaming day after day.